Okay, if I get started, Jennifer.
Yep, I think we're good to go.
Perfect. All right. Welcome everyone to the definitely winter here in Lincoln, Nebraska, slash spring seminar series. Again, as part of the National Agricultural Producers Data Cooperative. What the overall goal of the project is to develop a blueprint for a national data framework and cooperative where producers, universities, and not-for-profit entities can store and share data and develop powerful tools that enable producers to maximize their production and profitability. So we're excited today to welcome Abhilash Chandel, an assistant professor and extension specialist, precision agricultural technologies and data management at the Virginia Tech University. And today he'll be talking about a free Google Earth engine-based web tool for growers to monitor agroclimate situation in their farms and plan for precision operations. So with that, I'll turn it over and we'll have about 45 minutes or so, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. So, all right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Trendon. Hi, everyone. Trendon has already introduced me and the topic for today. So we are here with this web tool that we developed using Google Earth Engine. And this is specifically for growers, breeders, researchers, and almost all kinds of agricultural stakeholders to kind of access microclimate or field level agroclimatic information and plan for precision agriculture operations. So we'll quickly move on to the next slide. Just a brief background about these in few slides. Some of the important influencing factors, every one of us know this: the crop itself, the soil in which the crop grows, and the weather in which the crop interacts, the on-farm operations, and presence of any kind of external agents into a crop field or near the plants actually influence how the crop grows or progresses and eventually yields at the end. With that, there are different stages where we can implement operations to kind of control the negative influence of these factors, or wherever we take remedial actions. This could be at plantation stage decision making. This could be related to plant protection during the crop grows, protection against any kind of biotic or abiotic stressors like drought or heat stress or freeze damages, and eventually kind of plan better for harvest and sales depending on how the crop has matured or is ready to be harvested. All that information stands very critical when it comes to overall productive and profitable agricultural operations. And eventually those are our goals. So how do we access all these information and what information is needed? Of course, everyone is interested in soil information. Firstly, soil physical properties, biological properties, and chemical properties, of course, to see how that soil is healthy and can support that sustainable crop production. The weather information, whether it will be cloudy or sunny or rainy, and these actually can influence how the agricultural operations such as irrigation or spraying or any kind of harvest operations or resource management operations will kind of pan out. Actually, weather is a very critical driver in decision making. And then ultimately the crop information, that crop will respond to any kind of its interaction with external agents, be it farm operations or any kind of stressors like bacteria, virus, fungi, water availability, fertilizers, pest attacks. And of course, that is reflected into sensor signals. We use, this specific tool talks about remote sensors based on satellite cameras that can detect these sensor signals and can help interpret. Research studies have shown that these could be helpful in interpreting what kind of treatment is needed to manage such problems. For example, is NDVI, a highly used information index for understanding the crop health. Most of the growers have started also knowing this NDVI. Of course, earlier it was mostly the researchers, but now most of the growers also know about it. So we have kept NDVI as an option. So eventually, what all operations are impacted by all these information, be it soil, be it crop, be it weather, planting decisions, assessing the drought risk, and then looking into irrigation scheduling and management, identifying if there is a conducive situation for a disease or a pest attack, then of course triggering the spraying actions, identifying if the crop has attained certain degrees, certain growing degree days, or certain heat accumulations that will impact its growth, and then plan for other operations, agronomic operations like fertilizer applications, or even estimate if the crop has reached its max, its latest stage, or it's matured. So eventually planning for harvest operations. Now, the big question why we got into about this tool is, can we get easy access to all this information at one place? There are so many parameters involved in terms of soil, in terms of weather, in terms of crop. Can we get that all at one place? Maybe or may not be. But the next question is for free. Now, that free thing, of course, it kind of tackles also the economic situation and the skill set information of our end users, specifically growers. Can they really get this all information at one place and for free? Not really. So that is where we kind of got into this idea of developing a tool where they can access all this information at one place and then decide on what kind of operations they need to put on. So it's one level of precision agriculture for sure. But now, yes, we can. And how? It is through this tool. Last year during the NAPDC, I showed a rough framework of this tool, but now we are at a stage where we are rolling this tool out. We just started to dispense and conduct demonstrations with the grower groups, with the extension agents to roll this tool out. And this is the QR code. This is the web version that you're looking at. But once you scan your QR code on the phone, you will see a mobile view as well. So we have a web version plus mobile version. And now we'll switch our gears to the demonstration of how this tool works. But before that, I would like to acknowledge NAPDC, USDA and Cotter Incorporated, who have supported development of this tool. And these are three people who were the actual contributors to the development of this tool. First is postdoc, and then other the graduate students. So yes, without any further time, I'll quickly switch my gears to the demonstration. Trendon, can you confirm if you can see the tool page?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. So this is a very simple tool. We have tried to keep it very interactive, very self-guided. So we will simply switch to a satellite view if that gives us a much better view. And we can start simply with selecting, or you can simply put an address like a Google map. So let's say I will put my address currently 6321 Holland Road, Suffolk. This is our site. And I'll just scroll out and scroll in depending on the level of zoom that is required. Now we can access information for maximum 5 fields. It depends because of its data access constraints. We have tested to check how much amount of information can be accessed, and what we came up with a number was 5 fields. So I will just access data for 2 fields right now, just for the example demo. So once I select the number of fields, and then I need to draw them on the map. So I have my drawing tool enabled. I'll just simply draw, just simply left clicks, close the box. That's my first layer. It's getting generated. Then I'll recheck this box because I've selected 2 fields. So I will draw one more field somewhere, let's say far from here. Let's say we'll go here. And these are around our research farms. And then these are the layers. So you can see the field legends. Field 1 is in blue color shapefile. Field 2 is orange. So users can keep a track of which field they are looking at. And then we need to select start and end date, like between what duration of period you want to observe or have a look at the data. So I can select let's say previous year's data. This starts from early 2000s, but we are also working on to get more historical data to this so people can have access to a lot of information. But for this demo, I'll take, say, April end as the start date, and somewhere October 31st as the end date of the season, and then I'll simply click to load. Start date, okay. I selected 2020, so So there are some error prompts as well that will help users to kind of figure out if something has gone wrong or not. So data successfully loaded. Now, the default data that we are showing is the NDVI curve for the selected fields, how it has varied between the selected data, selected time frame. And we can, of course, look at in the full pan of how things have varied. And this data is downloadable in Excel files or even as an images to put on PowerPoint presentations as well. And then if you want to kind of visualize how the data looked at certain stages, so we have all these dates where the cloud-free satellite images are available. So cloud-free meaning it gives you high quality data. And the satellite that we are using here is Sentinel-2 that gives you data at 10 meters per pixel of resolution. So let's say we can select a date, 7/28. It's generating the map. These are the satellite imagery of the fields. And then it's done. We can unclick the shapefile layers and we can go and look at certain sections of the fields. If we feel that this corner of the field is kind of course, there are houses and ponds, but if you feel that there are certain areas in the field that are facing problems, we can certainly narrow it down and look at if we need to kind of look at that field. I mean, of course, farmers know their fields better, but if they find some level of inconsistency in the observations, they can certainly, this map can actually help them go to that point or location and see if what is the problem in actuality if they are not aware of it. So, and that can help them trigger operations, control operations. So this is the field. I mean, this is red because we have a solar farm here. So it's a lot of solar panels here and some grasses around. So that is the reason why we have lower values. And we have this NDVI scale bar, and we write also for the growers, for someone who don't know about NDVI, we have put a slight indicative text. Higher the value of NDVI, healthier is the crop. That is one thing. Now, during that duration, if you want to access weather information, how has the weather been during that period? So for weather, we have soil moisture, surface soil moisture, root zone soil moisture, surface temperature, soil temperature, evapotranspiration, something that helps with irrigation scheduling, precipitation or rainfall, humidity, wind speed, air temperature. So let's say we can have a look at root zone soil moisture, and we can select at what frequency you want to have a look. So let's say I will put weekly frequency. So I should get two curves for the two fields. So these curves will represent average information for that entire field. So if a user wants to get much smaller area or information about much smaller area, they'll have to draw those small regions as well. It will take just few seconds to generate it because a lot of data getting crunched in the backend. It should be here soon. Then I'll just walk through the parameters. We can, on top of the historical weather or the weather for a certain duration, users can look at 16-day forecast of weather data that comprise of air temperature, relative humidity. Okay, we got this curve. So these are the variations in root zone soil moisture for the two fields. So root zone, it's I think 0 to 2 meters of soil depth. And this certainly can help in determining if the moisture level in the root zone is sufficient or not. I mean, of course, there is for this field, there are solar panels, but I think it interpolates depending on the regional or the sideways, depending on the observations from the neighboring fields. So there are some algorithms for interpolation because certainly at every 10 meters, the information may not be collected for weather information, but not like satellite images for which we have that high resolution images. Now, of course, we have put a separate link again for the rainfall if people just want to look at the rainfall during that selected duration. And yes, there was a very hot period until August in this part of the country. It should generate this information quick, but I was talking about the 16-day weather forecast. Growers or users can look at how the air temperature would be for next 16 days, what would be the wind speed, or how much rainfall they can expect, what would be the relative humidity. And these operations can actually help them plan for irrigation, for spraying operations. Of course, they cannot spray pesticides or herbicides in strong winds. So they can, think about if they can do spraying operations or irrigation. I mean, spraying operations like 1 day before or 2 days later, they can plan accordingly. And so this is the rainfall for the fields. And of course, we can have a larger view look. Of course, for more further analysis, there could be an option for downloading this data, as well as getting the snapshots of images for putting into publications and such. Looking at 16-day forecast, if there is going to be a freezing temperatures, specifically for some of the cropping season, like for peanuts, very much sensitive, because peanuts get harvested around sometimes late October as well. And then immediately after that, there could be like fall in temperatures. So that can actually have an impact due to frost. So let's have a look at the air temperature for next 16 days. And these can actually help in resource management for growers specifically, and of course, researchers to think about how they should plan for operations. And these are the air temperatures, and we are certainly expecting the temperatures to rise by the first week of March. It's going to fall still for some period, but it's going to rise up. So coming to what Trenton mentioned, winter, we might see less of a winter in next couple of weeks. That's air temperature. Similarly, we can look at the precipitation or rainfall. I mean, precipitation also comprises of snow if it is winters. So that certainly can also give an indication of what we can expect. So there is going to be some amount of rain in this region. Not really the snow, but rain for sure. That's the forecast for next 16 days. So if this is around the cropping season, growers can really think if they need to irrigate or they just need to relax a bit or look into other operations. And then, of course, we have soil parameters assessment. So some of the parameters like sand content, silt content, clay, bulk density, cation exchange capacity, something that relates to electrical conductivity or salinity, volumetric fraction of coarse fragments. So the bigger particles, soil particles, nitrogen content, of course, this is slightly because nitrogen is very mobile, so it can move quickly within the soil, the surface level soils. But still, because this data is collected almost at least 3 or 4 times in an year, so at least an idea could be made out. But for nitrogen, we won't say that this would be very accurate because nitrogen is very mobile. Some level of information on organic carbon stocks, soil pH, of course, very important. Before any season, growers would want to check their soil and amend if needed. And of course, organic carbon content. So carbon stocks and carbon content almost like the same part, but one is in actual units, one is in relative units or percentages. So we can have a look at any parameter, let's say soil pH. So that's the soil pH for 2 fields with respect to different depths, and say 5 centimeters and 200 centimeters. Of course, here it ranges between 5 to 6. But in case if the numbers are not usual, growers can actually use this information and tally it and then think about amending their soil. So kind of looking at the soil health aspect. Other information, let's run on maybe sand content of the soil. Of course, it's a very sandy soil, so we have very high level of sands in the region, of course, 70%, but it still varies at the depth. So depending on how different crops can be planted or cultivated, this information could be helpful. So that's the soil parameter information. Now, we have also included a tool called growing degree days, as I mentioned. Growing degree days is nothing but the amount of heat units accumulated in the plants that will actually reflect or that will actually regulate the crop growth and progress up to what, and also it helps to determine what stage the crop would be at. So certainly, if growers want to do a fertilizer application based on the crop growth stages, this information could certainly be helpful for them. So what we have done is, because we have 2 fields here, we can select what crop it is. So let's say it is corn. and we will select which field that crop is in. So let's say in the field one, it was corn. So this should generate a growing degree day curve and kind of give an idea of accumulated heat units. And after a certain heat accumulated heat units, of course, certain operations like spraying operations or fertilizer application or certain irrigations maybe. Those are also the operations that a user can think of controlling. So that is growing degree days. And this is actually what we have till now. But moving further, what we are doing right now is we are demonstrating this tool to a lot of extension agents, growers, and collecting feedback on where we can improve this tool further. The next, we have also received suggestions for including more crops. So we have these many crops: corn, soybeans, peanut, cotton, rice, wheat, barley, sunflower, potato, sorghum, lettuce. This is based on research, peer-reviewed research that we have found online, but certainly these can be tweaked depending on how the adjustments of growing degree days has been taken off. But these are more over the same. But we are also trying to include more crops. We got suggestions to include fruit crops as well, and we are working towards it. In our next steps, we are going to include disease prediction models based on the weather forecasts, how that conditions would look like. And certainly also looking at freeze damage for the cotton peanut growers here. And this is the example curve for the growing degree days, and people can look at how many degree Fahrenheit of heat has been accumulated by the crop. And of course, they can select the start date based on the day they planted their crop. So that is one of the important things. So in nutshell, yes, we have this tool until growing degree days, but we are also working on a lot of research projects, the information of which will be included in this tool to have aspects of or insights about agroclimatic information for crop fields. And just to mention, this is a global tool, so people anywhere across the globe, they can access this information. And yeah, it's for free for all kinds of agriculture stakeholders, ranging from crop growers to breeders to researchers and many others. One important information for this, one important feature or few important features of this tool developed is you can go to this three dashes at the end, and we have developed a simple NDVI tool as well. For example, someone who does not want to use a very extensive or a lot of information, they can simply have a look at the NDVI part only. So they can simply kind of click here and go to the NDVI thing, and they can have a look. And then we also have a support page, docs, where we have detailed information about what this tool is, what this tool has to offer, what kind of feature it contains, what are the functions, and how users can get information, vegetation indices, climate data trends, rainfall trends, weather forecast, soil parameters, growing degree days. And we have also listed what all sources of data, trusted data sources we have used. Most of it is coming from, the weather is coming from National Weather Service or NASA's SMAP data as well, and soilgrids.com for the soil data. And we are still thinking to use the USDA's crop data layer, but it is not displayed in here, but we are accessing it for other operations that we will see in the coming time. And also for the support of for the first time users or new users or someone who is not very familiar with these kind of tools, we have put two videos as well in YouTube where people can go through this. This is the video for the full version of the tool, and this is the video for the NDVI version of the tool. And yes, that is all about this tool and the support page. And if we click home, it will take us back to that home page tool. So yes, we have achieved this over the last year. And I would really thank NAPDC, USD and NIFA, and Cotton Incorporated for supporting us in developing this tool for the growers in the region as well as in the country and globally. So yes, that is it for this tool. Thank you. I'll be happy to take any questions. Yeah.
Thank you for that great overview. Any questions from the community?
So I have one question. So you have the NDVI data from the satellites.
Yeah.
Is there going to be like thermal data available in the future?
Yes, we are working on that. So initially, we have in the backend actually like 35 indices. But one of the feedback that we received from extension agents is that growers might get very confused looking at those 35 indices at the first.
Yep. Yep.
They at the maximum they would know NDVI only. So we put NDVI here, but we are also accessing now, making effort to access Landsat imagery data that gives thermal information as well. And that will actually help us to access data from 1970s as well. For someone who is really interested to look at how the historical information has looked over, certain areas or certain farms. Yeah.
So
Or
like
if someone is to remove forest and do agriculture. Yeah, sorry, please go ahead.
no, so the thermal part would be really important in Nebraska, so
Right.
we could check our pivots.
Right.
The thermal
Yeah,
imagery is
yeah,
for
yeah.
pivots. So
Yeah,
yep.
sure. We are working on that. So I mean, I would say this was the concept behind this version of the tool was to get all the basic framework data first, and we are almost like 95% done on that. And the
Yeah.
next thing is like modeling and getting to the decision making for like disease forecasting or predicting when the crop will be matured, kind of guiding for the spraying operations, and many other like drought risks or freeze risks. Everyone is interested in that kind of information. So that's our next step or leap that we'll be taking over the next period.
No, sounds good.
Thank you.
There's a question in
Oh,
the chat. You
yeah.
might reread it. It's kind of a long one, so.
I know. Okay, I'll read out the question. I noticed that satellite image is showing some sort of variability within the field. The tool processes data at field level scale without doing any processing of the within in-field variability. I plan to address this within in-field variability in the future for the imagery portion of the tool. Do you think there is a value on exploring this from a precision ag point of view? So that's a very good question. I mean, if you look at, say, NDVI image, and then if you look at the curves at the end, the graphs that are generated are for the mean NDVI for the entire field, but the curves, but the image it's showing like in-field variability. That is very true. So we have a certain work around that as well that we are trying to kind of develop. But as of now, if you ask me, people can select very tiny regions in the field if they want to look at very, very localized information. For example, if people have the soil maps from web soil survey shape files, if they want to have that information, they can upload those shape files as well. So we have not kind of brought that feature out, but it's hidden in the backend. We have included an additional feature where users can upload their shape files. So if you have shape files of different sizes or different regions within the field, that can be uploaded and you can get very micro level information from the image part. So that is there, and we are actually thinking of how better we can refine it. We are this, I mean, I could say that this is the first version of this tool, so we don't want to kind of confuse people. We want to give it a slow transition, because this can become too much of data intensive for our first time users. So, but it's there, and there's a possibility of accessing in-field variability data, not just image, but data at the in-field variability level. I hope that answered the question. Okay, thank you. We have the next question. Do you have an API to retrieve the data without the geo interference? You mentioned about diseases. Which disease models are you using? Are you open for collaborations? Yes, we are definitely open for collaborations. And that's the reason why also this tool is this is an open source tool. And right now we are kind of gathering feedback. We are doing a lot of demonstrations with the growers and extension agents in the region, and we are seeking feedbacks. So yes, in terms of disease tools, if there are some pre-existing disease models, of course we can implement that. But we are also looking at the research that we are also conducting at our end for example, estimating the risk of sclerotinia blight in peanuts. There could be a anthracnose fruit rot infection risk in strawberries or other fruits. Of course, we are free to, we can certainly include that in the tools. And of course, as mentioned, we are free to collaborate. We have not included any models of disease prediction so far yet in this one, but we are working on it. So probably in few months from now, you should see that information, because as we are rolling this tool out, people are getting very excited. So they are, kind of giving us a lot of information and feedbacks. Can you please include this? Can you please include this? So we'll get overwhelmed with this thing. But yeah, certainly we are open to, include a lot of features. The best part, what we have got in terms of feedback is it has really got growers excited. I mean, and the latest feedback for the workshop that I did like last week, Grover said that we could not imagine that we can get all this information at one place. So that was our, I think, a movement in right direction. But yes, we are open for collaborations.
Other questions from the group?
Thank you. So how about the API? Oh, sorry. Yeah, we have not released the API yet, but we can certainly do that. So please stay tuned. Yeah. Other questions? I know this
So
is a
Abhilash,
short webinar.
I had
but-
a quick,
Yeah.
I had a quick question about, could you say something about like the any data agreements that go with like if you upload your data to it, or like how you're using data, and just generally talk about like, okay, if you upload data, what's the deal with data, just for the audience.
Right. Yeah, sure. So in the next phase or next version of this tool, we will release, or we will add a feature to this tool of uploading their own shape files. So that is a private information that I would say. For that, we have kind of made a provision where people will be accessing that feature through their Google accounts or through their personal Gmail accounts. So that will kind of keep your information secured. Not everyone can look at what you're doing. So there's a possibility on that. In terms of all the data that is out here, it is the data in public domain, so we don't have to take any license agreement for that. And so we are not violating that. So people are free to use information. And for the matter of fact that it's open source data, meaning it has kind of fulfilled all these regulations related to data privacy. So, I mean, people will access data, but nothing much beyond it. But certainly, as I pointed out earlier, a farmer or the landowner, they will know their field better than anyone else. So of course they can make interpretations after a certain point where a general audience can have a look at this data. So there's a data privacy thing. And since it's a Google Earth Engine platform, when you upload your data, it will be through your personalized Google account. So no one else can access that information. And this information is open source. So this does not require any license agreements.
Great. Thank you. That was very helpful.
Any other question? We are happy to take feedback. So please give your feedbacks. Please write to me if you feel that there is something more we can do with this. And this is open to feedbacks anytime. Yeah. I know this was a very short webinar, but I hope this was
I
helpful.
don't think you'll get too many complaints there. So, but yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it's fine. Short and sweet is good. Like that was really very helpful.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Any
Yeah.
final
Yeah.
questions?
Sure. Any other questions?
All right. Well, thanks, Abhilash. Much appreciated. And we'll have 2 more seminars in March and 1 in April. So please join those. Look for the announcements. And thanks for everyone for coming. All right. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.
That's great. Thank you,
See you
Abhilash.
then. Thank you.